Well, I mean, the problem of youth unemployment is very, very stark at the moment. There's 2.5 million unemployed altogether. 1 million of those are aged between 18 and 24. And according to the last statistics, the rate of increase for the young 18 to 24-year-olds is much greater than for the older age groups. So we really are facing a big crisis, and it's going to get worse. Well, I think the main recommendations we've made in this report are veer towards those which cost as little as possible. I mean, we're very aware that there's not going to be much government funding here. But they fall basically into three categories. One is the need to support young people into work of some sort, either through the Enterprise Allowance Scheme or some new version of the Future Jobs Fund. But actually starting work now, even at a very, very low salary, is absolutely vital. The longer that young people stay unemployed, the worse their immediate futures are, but the worse their long-term futures are. So that's the main recommendation, to look at ways in which these young people can be got into work. We discovered that within the creative sector, there are quite a few young people who are actually quite keen to set up by themselves. And this requires a tiny bit of funding. Not a lot of funding, but it does require some funding. And so we've looked at ways in which a minimum amount of funding can be made to go a long way to help young people set out by themselves through a new allowance scheme. And we go into quite a lot of detail about why that must be consistent funding for a year or more, and not these short-term things that the government has in mind at the moment. And the third thing, which is, well, the third and fourth thing really, is first of all, young people do need somewhere to work. I mean, space is absolutely important. And actually a recession does provide quite a lot of empty space. There are empty shops and empty warehouses, empty offices. And some local authorities, Gateshead's a very good example, Brighton's another, Glasgow, a big example, have found very inventive ways of using empty space to get cheap office studio space for young people who are ready or hoping to set up tiny businesses on their own. So we look at various ways in which that's been successful around the country. And then the final thing, which is which really runs through all these three strands, is that people do need mentoring, they do need help. And this is an area in which the private sector can be most, very, very useful. That they have the expertise already, and the more that they can help young people into their own businesses, that the better.